Hello friends, this is Durga from IT University. As part of getting started with DynamoDB, which is a NoSQL database, in this video I will talk about DynamoDB operations a little bit in detail, and also I will cover how we can actually do these operations in using Eclipse as IDE and Java as a programming language. So as I have mentioned earlier, you need to have AWS plugin to your Eclipse, and then you can create the project very easily, and you can get the templates. In this video I will take it to next level and try to um, use my dataset New York Stock Exchange and try to load the data, query the data, and scan the data. So there are only three operations. One is to insert or update using put uh, using put item command, or you can actually scan if you want to fetch all the rows and then like select star from and then apply filter conditions on them, and then query. So scan and query, query is to fetch data based upon the key. So as you already know, Dynamo is a NoSQL database, and it stores data in row in key value format, wherein data is sorted by key, and then within each key data is sorted by value. I have demonstrated a little bit a few videos earlier, and in the next video I will be covering data modeling in detail, and you will understand the data model. So query is the so if you already know the key which is indexed by row key or the secondary index, if you want to fetch the data based upon a key, then you have to go with query. Scan to fetch all the results and apply filter conditions on the values, whereas query is to fetch results based upon the row key or a secondary index. So that's the difference. If you want to get more details about the query and scan, go to this link, and you can explore further in detail. So let's go ahead and first look at these operations once again as part of the command line interface. We have seen few things earlier also, and I will show few more things here. The first thing is, if you want to just scan, so scan is to fetch all the results without a condition on the key, and select star from a table can be easily. So if you want to just do this select star from stock underscore EOD, then you can apply scan command like this. I have shown earlier also, but in most of the cases we want to do the results. We want to fetch the results only for few rows like this, limit 10 in most of the databases, and in Oracle it will be like this self star from stock underscore EOD where row num less than or equal to 10. So this is to fetch only 10 records so that we can actually review how our data is. So similar to these queries, if you want to get a few records, then this is the command you should use. So minus limit 10 is the minus limit is the control argument, which takes number of records as the parameter, and you can run this command to fetch the results. I think the server is not up yet. Let me bring the server. So I'm using local DynamoDB for the demonstration, and now I can actually fetch the results. So you can see that scan count is 10, and there are 10 results in JSON format. Okay, and then if you want to get the count, so if you want to run query like this, select count of 1 from stock underscore EOD, then you can run the query like this. So the difference is, instead of minus minus limit, we are using minus minus select as one of the control arguments, and it takes several arguments or several parameters. And the control argument minus minus select takes several parameters. One is specific attributes, and there are few more. And let me run this with count, which will give the count of the table. So it has 12,387 records. Okay, and then if you sometimes, so we have 7 fields in the table. They are stock ticker, trade date, low price, open price, close price, high price, and volume. Okay, when you have many fields in the table, at times you might want to fetch only few columns from the table based upon certain condition. So for example, if you want to fetch volume, then you have to use minus minus select control argument with specific attributes as the attribute. When you use specific attributes, you have to use attributes to get or projection expression. So attributes to get is to fetch only one attribute from the table, whereas projection expression is to fetch more than one attribute. I think it might also support functions. I'm not 100% sure though. So this is how it looks like. So if you want to fetch only one field, you have to use attributes to get, or even projection expression also works. Whereas projection expression, you can actually get multiple fields also. And limit is the control argument to get number of records we are looking for. So this query will, if you write in SQL format, it is like this: trade date, stock ticker, V from stock underscore EOD, limit 10. Okay, and then you can run this query. We are trying to connect to this endpoint, which is IP address of my VM, and by default DynamoDB on a VM or the local machine will run on 8000 port. So that's why endpoint URL is pointing to HTTP URL with 8000 port. And this one I am running on from my PC. I have not logged into the virtual machine. Still the commands works as long as there is a network connectivity between the PC and the server where DynamoDB is running. So now you can see that it only fetched stock ticker, trade date, and volume. So and so far we are seeing the different variations of scan. Most of this behavior will be same when you actually query also. So query I have already shown as part of the earlier video, so I will not get into too many details here. You need to be familiar with the conditions, how you can apply the conditions on key, because query requires conditions on keys, otherwise you should use scan. That being said, now let us see how we can actually do this insert or update, as well as scan and query can be run on the downloadable DynamoDB using Eclipse as IDE and Java as programming language. So here, using this Amazon DynamoDB sample.java, which is created when I create a sample project, as I have shown earlier, I took it as template and modified to load our New York Stock Exchange data, which is comma separated and have 7 fields. So NYSE parser.java is the program which will actually parse each and every row. So you have to pass the row as a record, and this will actually build the NYSE parser object. So we will be using that as part of our program. Let's quickly get into the main function. So if you look at the main function, it is only 3 lines. One is init. So if you go to the init, it will actually initialize the connectivity to the database, and then I am hard coding the table name, and I am passing table name as well as the argument 0 to read and load. So as per when I actually run the program, I have to pass the path of our New York Stock Exchange data, the main directory of New York Stock Exchange data. Okay, and then if you go to the init, let's start with init. If you go to init, we are just getting the credentials from the default location. So when we the credentials are nothing but access key and secret key, which we have to configure when we try using the when we try creating the projects related to AWS after installing the plugin. So it will be saved in under .aws directory by default in the home directory. So when you actually pass the default as profile credentials provider, it will go to that location, get that file, get the access key and secret key, and when you run the program, it will use those details to authenticate with AWS, whether you are using endpoints or not. So I think it is mandatory. And then this is the region. If you, in this case, as we are connecting to our local version of DynamoDB, these 2 lines are optional region lines, but we need to set the endpoint. So we are this is the code in it. And then if you go to the read and load, so we are actually reading. So this is plain file system API of core Java. So this code base will actually go through the directories, because let me show you. So this is the what I have done is there is a raw data directory where I actually downloaded my New York Stock Exchange data, and if you look at that, it has one folder for each year, and in those folders we have files for each day. So when I am running against local DynamoDB, after a while it is actually running out of memory issues. So I am not sure how to troubleshoot and how to resolve that issue, but it only supported only 12,000 records or 17,000 records. So for that reason, instead of processing the entire data set and load into the table to demonstrate, I only fetch 4 files. So if you go back to the parent directory, there is a directory called 1 year. Okay, cd nysc cd 1 year. In that you can see that there is only one directory, and we have 4 files. So using these 4 files are approximately 12,000 rows. So I will be loading these 12,000 rows as part of this program. Okay. So this one, so when I actually pass the argument, run configurations, I have to pass up to 1 year. So the program is capable of going to the next level of directory of NYSE_2013 and read data from the files. Okay, and then after, while reading the file for each record, I am invoking NYSE parser.parse method to build the NYSE parser object, and then within this program itself there is a method called new item, and that new item will take the NYSE parser object and build a map object, because for put item it requires the put item is again my program. So let me show you the new item first. So it is a plain simple code wherein it is actually reading data from the NYSE parser and using DynamoDB APIs to convert into a attribute value object for each of the field in the dataset. And then put item is simple 2-line code which will create a put item request object, and put item request object has a constructor which takes the table name as a string and the item as a map item. So that is the reason why we are building this map item, and then we are using DynamoDB.putItem to insert into the table. Okay, so now let us run this program first. For that, I am actually deleting the table. So if you want to delete the table, you can use this command called delete table, and hit enter. The table will be deleted. Let me update this document. Okay, by now table will be deleted, and now let us recreate again. So create table command is already there on the top, so I am using the same command here. Again, our key schema has two attributes, stock ticker and trade date, and stock ticker is hash partitioned, and trade date is range partitioned. So there are only two types of key schemas. One is single column key schema, wherein the single column has to be hash partitioned, and the other type of key schema is composite key schema, wherein you can have only two attributes. The first one should be hash partitioned and the second one should be range partitioned. In this case, stock ticker is the first column or leading column which is hash partitioned, and trade date is the trailing column or second column which is range partitioned. We need to only define the key columns or key schema while creating the table. We don't need to specify the column names while creating the table, because DynamoDB is a NoSQL database, and it does not enforce rigid column names while creating the table. The schema data model is completely flexible once you define the key. That being said, now let me run the program. Run configuration should have the right path. Run configurations, and NYSE load is the class name, and arguments you have to pass the path, and click on run. It will take little time, and if you want to validate while it is running, you can use the count command which we used earlier and hit enter, and you can see that 943 records are inserted so far. I'm running again. 3852. So let's wait a minute. Once the program is completed, we will see how we can actually write Java programs for querying and scanning the data. So the program is executed successfully, and hit enter to get the final count. It has 12,387 records. Now look at the scan operation first. So scan, as I mentioned to you earlier, it is primarily to fetch all the rows and apply the filter criteria on the values. Again, if you go to the main function, it is calling two methods, init and scan. Init is same as the earlier init in NYSE load, and in case of scan, we have to build a map object to apply multiple filter criteria on the table. In this case, I am applying filter criteria on value. So I want to fetch all the rows which have volume more than 1 million, or all the stocks which have stocks with the transaction date which have daily volume of greater than 1 million. So for that reason I have to put the bind variable like this, and then I have to set a value against which you want to validate. And here in the scan request we will take care of applying the mapping these bind variables with the appropriate columns. We will get back to that in a moment. And then second filter criteria is on again I want to look for stocks with name HCA. I don't want to fetch all the stocks. So the what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to fetch all the rows, select star from stock underscore EOD, where stock ticker equal to HCA and volume is greater than 1 million. Okay, this is the query which I am trying to simulate in this program. So once you set the attribute values, then you have to build the scan request object. Scan request object have a method called with the table name, and whatever object it returns, it has another method called with filter expression. And here in filter expression you can actually apply the filter conditions. In this case here we are actually adding volume or V greater than the bind variable column val. So this is the one which will actually map the values using which you want to apply on the table to fetch the results with the column names against which you want to apply these values. So in this case we are actually mapping the column volume or V with the bind variable val. Okay, similarly is the case with stock ticker. But when it comes to stock ticker, it is part of the key. So if you want to apply this query, you should not apply using scan, but I am demonstrating that scan takes both values as well as keys to apply filters. Especially stock ticker is the leading column or the first column which is hash partitioned on the table. In this scenario you should only use query for this type of requests. Even in query you can apply filters on the values, but there will be two expressions. One is key expression and the other one is filter expression, and we can apply both of them on query spec and we can take care of this anyway. But you can apply filter conditions on keys also even in scan, but it is not a very efficient way of doing that. And then I want to only look at stock ticker and trade date and probably volume also. So these three are the fields which I want to see. So projection expression take care of the parameters which you want to see. So the final query will be like this. The final query which we are trying to simulate is stock ticker, comma, trade date, comma, V. And to simulate this query we are using scan request object, because in DynamoDB we can also scan the data by applying filter conditions on the values, and in this case I am trying to simulate using scan. And then you have to pass invoke this method with the expression attribute values and pass the expression attribute values which we actually built earlier to apply the which we have built with the key and values of bind variables and the values. So by invoking this method, the filter expression and this one will be matched, and based upon that the query will be run. Okay, so to recap, first you have to build expression attribute values object which will have the bind variables and values, and then you have to invoke scan request object with table name with filter expression where you have the column names like volume and stock ticker, and then if you want you can invoke projection expression, otherwise it will try to retrieve everything, and then you have to invoke with expression attribute values and pass the object of type map, which have the key and values of the bind variables and the values which we are trying to validate against. That being said, you can right click on this, and this does not require any parameters, so directly run it as Java application and it will fetch the results for you. It will fetch HCA, all the transactions that are greater than 1 million for HCA. Okay, you can see that stock ticker HCA 1st October 2013, the volume is 7 million, and then 7 million for 2nd October, 8 million for 3rd October, and 3 million for 4th October. Okay, this is the demonstration of scan. Now quickly let us look at query. So query, you have to have filter conditions on keys. Okay, whereas scan, it is kind of fetching everything from the values and apply filter, fetching everything from the table and apply filters on the one or more fields as in each of the values of all the rows in DynamoDB table. Whereas query spec, if you look at the main difference, the query spec also starts with different methods. You can apply these methods which starts with in any order. So in this case, I started with projection expression. So I'm trying to fetch stock ticker, trade date, and volume, and then I'm trying to apply key condition expression. And here you can. So what I want to do is I want to apply filter condition on stock ticker and trade date, and I want to fetch results on a range of dates, because if you recollect, stock ticker is hash partitioned in the key and trade date is range partitioned under the key. So for a given stock like SCA, all the records will be ordered on date in our data set. So first, especially if you are trying to look at this data, it will be stored in this order. The data will be hash partitioned on stock ticker, which is the first field, and then within that hash partition or within the hash value, if there are multiple records with the trade date, those records will be sorted in trade. That's what range partitioning is. We will touch base again while talking about data model as part of the next video. And then in with value map, I'm actually building a value map object, and here here for each of the bind variables, I'm actually associating mapping the values. So for v underscore st bind variable, the value is LEA, so it will become stock ticker equal to LEA, and then trade date, I am applying the range I am using between here. So the query which I'm trying to simulate here, it looks like this: select stock ticker trade date v from stock underscore EOD, where stock ticker equal to LEA and trade date between October 2013 and 3rd October 2013. So we are trying to simulate this query as part of this function, but as we have stock ticker, which is the key in the table, it's better to use query rather than scan. And the same thing can be applied on scan also, but it will not give the flexibility of range partitioning and all those, range applying the range condition like between and all those things as part of the filter expression. So this is how the query and the code looks like to simulate this query of selecting stock ticker trade date volume from table stock EOD, where stock ticker equal to LEA and trade date between these dates. And if you go to this link, it has all the details about eligible conditions. You can see that. So this is the main thing which you need to understand. So condition expression, you can have operand, comparator, operand, and these are the comparators. And also it supports in, and or, and these are the comparators: equal to, not equal to, less than or equal to, greater than equal to. And these are the functions which can be applied at the time of either key expression or filter expression. If you want to fetch the records, if a particular attribute exists, then you can use this function. We are using between operator, and that's it. And if you want to fetch all the results which contains a trade date, you have to use filter expression. Contains works only on filter expression. It does not work on a key condition expression, because trade date is range partitioned, and it can only take a range type of expressions. Contains is not a type of range type of expression. That's why it is only supported in filter expression. So in this case, instead of getting results between 2nd October and 3rd October, if you want to get all the records which are part of the October for stock LEA, then you have to apply key condition expression on stock ticker and filter expression on trade date using contains as the function. So you need to play with these things to understand more in detail. I will not be going into all the scenarios. Now you can right click, run as Java application, and it will only fetch 2 records, one for stock LEA, one for 2nd October and other for 3rd October, and it is displayed in the form of JSON. And then there is another with method called consistent read to true, which is set to true. I will not explain in this video. This is out of the scope of getting started. I will explain those things when I actually talk about NoSQL concepts and the differences between different NoSQL databases like DynamoDB, MongoDB, Cassandra, and HBase. That being said, once you build the query spec, you can invoke the query method on table object. So this is actually a table object. Here there is one more object called Dynamo, because the query is part of the table object. So I have built the table object before actually building the query spec like this. And then using the table object, I am invoking the query by passing the query spec, and then I'm iterating through them, and I'm displaying the values of the query. So this is it about the operations on DynamoDB tables: put, scan, and query. Using whatever limited features you have, you should be able to implement your business logic when you store data in DynamoDB database. That being said, I hope you are enjoying the content on my channel. If you like this video, please click on the like button, and if you have any feedback or ask any technical question, please use the comment section of the video. And if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. You will see a lot more content like this over time. Thank you. Bye.